Hello and thanks for joining us from our studios in Israel. I'm Aaron Porras here with ILTV's morning briefing. Israeli border police say they've just thwarted an attempted stabbing in Hebron in the West Bank. According to officials, officers noted a suspicious Palestinian woman in her 20s approaching an IDF checkpoint while clutching a knife. Police startled her from behind, causing her to drop her weapon. The woman, a resident of the West Bank village of Yatta, has been detained by security officials and taken in for questioning. Hebron is often a flashpoint for terrorism, with attempted stabbings against security officers and worshippers becoming more and more common as the city contains a religious site revered by both Muslims and Jews. Following the Israeli Prime Minister's calls for UNRWA to be dismantled, United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres has fired back, rallying support from all member states to continue supporting the refugee relief program. In a statement delivered by spokesman Farhan Haq, Guterres continued saying that, quote, he wishes to express his support for UNRWA and his admiration for the role it plays in delivering essential services and protecting the rights of millions of Palestine refugees across the Middle East, end quote. UNRWA, or the United Nations Relief and Works Agency for Palestine Refugees in the Near East, was created in 1949 to provide employment and public work projects to the 5 million registered Palestinian refugees and their descendants from the 1948 War of Independence. It was later revitalized for those expelled during the Six-Day War in 1967. Today, UNRWA is charged with providing services like education, healthcare, and social services. The organization has often come under criticism over the past few years, however, amid accusations of corruption, politicization, support and incitement to terrorism, and more. An independent UN inquiry found that terrorist groups in Gaza had hidden weapons in at least 3 UN-run school buildings in Gaza, for example, and had at least in 2 of those schools fired rockets into Israel during the war of 2014, known as Operation Protective Edge. Most recently, a Hamas terror tunnel was uncovered underneath an UNRWA school by some of the employees. This is what prompted Netanyahu's calling for it to be finally dismantled in the first place. Following the closure of Al-Jazeera press bureaus in Saudi Arabia and Jordan, Israel might follow the Sunni state's lead. Yesterday, Prime Minister Netanyahu held a meeting with the Shin Bet Security Service, the government press office, and other offices to look into the possibility and legality of shutting down the Qatari-owned news agency. Many view Al Jazeera as essentially state propaganda. Its fiercely critical coverage of Arab nationalist governments and Sunni monarchies contrasts strongly with its subtly favorable coverage of Islamist organizations like the Muslim Brotherhood. Not coincidentally, the pro-Islamist line matches Qatari foreign policy exactly. Defense Minister Avigdor Lieberman is attacking Al Jazeera as an incitement machine, pure propaganda in the style of Nazi Germany or Soviet Russia. He's also saying that in all his years following the station, he's never once seen a story against Iran. But there are legal questions about shutting down Al Jazeera. Well, most of its employees are Israeli citizens, and their right to work in legal business is protected by Israel's basic law. Additionally, an Al Jazeera appeal to the High Court of Justice would further delay its closure. Still, considering Arabic media professors describe Al Jazeera as intrinsically anti-Semitic, it's no surprise that Israel is seeing an opportunity here. Many in the Middle East view the network as no more than an arm of the Qatari state. UN High Commissioner for Human Rights Zeid Ra'ad al-Hussein is not happy. In a recently published report, al-Hussein criticized both the Israeli and Palestinian governments for their non-compliance with international calls for accountability. He goes on to call for each of the two parties to, quote, conduct prompt, impartial, and independent investigations of all alleged violations of international human rights law and all allegations of international crimes, end quote. In a statement made last week on the 50th anniversary of the 1967 Six-Day War, al-Hussein's comments focused primarily on Israel's control of the West Bank, though he did mention that Israelis have suffered grievously from Palestinian attacks as well. What he forgot to make mention of was the fact that Israel has complied with many independent investigations already. Billionaire Warren Buffett is apparently now trying to raise $200 million in Israel bonds. At a private event last Thursday in New York, guests pledged to buy between $1 to $5 million worth of Israel bonds to meet the billionaire's goal. Israel Bonds said that following that particular event, Buffett is believed to have brought in close to $200 million worth of bonds and investments. Last November, Buffett hosted a similar event in his hometown of Omaha, Nebraska, that led to investments of up to $60 million, including $5 million out of his own pocket in the Jewish state. During that particular event, he was quoted as saying, quote, "If you are looking for brains, energy, and dynamism in the Middle East, Israel is the only place you need to go," end quote. Warren Buffett is the CEO of the American conglomerate Berkshire Hathaway and is estimated to have a net worth of $75.6 billion, making him the second richest man in the world. In 2013, he acquired the Israeli firm Iskar and donated $10 million to the Rambam Medical Center in Haifa. That's all for now. I'm Aaron Porras, and see you later with our main daily broadcast from Israel at 2 p.m. Eastern Time.